So today I wanted to talk all about infusions. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk all about infusions. I have been on 2 infusion meds so far. I'm on my second one currently right now. So if you wanted to know the pros and cons of an infusion versus the self-injectable pens like Humira, I've already made a video on that. So I'll leave a card so you can check that out. So what to expect when you're a rheumatologist and you have that conversation. Many of the infusion medications are expensive. One dose is thousands of dollars because you actually have to have a nurse come in, start an IV in your vein, give you the medicine, watch you, make sure you're not having any sort of allergic reaction to it. And a lot of times you are getting the infusion in an infusion center. Though there are some programs where an infusion nurse can come to your home and give it to you. That's not available for everybody though. So before you can get started on the infusion, you get to deal with all the fun insurance stuff, because if insurance doesn't cover that, you're not going to likely be able to afford it. If you are more interested in learning about how that insurance approval process works, because it can take a while, I've already made a video on that, so I will leave a card up if you wanted to watch that video. Once you get insurance approval, the next step typically ends up being someone will contact you to schedule your first infusion, whether a nurse comes to you or you go to the infusion center. I've never done home health type of programs. I've only ever gone to an infusion center, so I don't really know the process for that. But for the infusion center, you schedule your time, you go in, they will check your temperature, blood pressure, vital signs type stuff. So they have a starting point, and then they will start an IV somewhere in your arm or your hand, depending. They will initially start you out with just some normal saline just to help dilute the medication when they first start it. Some doctors will order a antihistamine, whether it is Benadryl or they just have you take like a Claritin or Zyrtec at home. And some of them also will order IV steroids, Solumedrol. They usually do that when they do for the first few doses. So in the event we find out you're allergic to that medicine that is potently in your vein, you already have something in your system to fight that as a precautionary type of thing. Some of the IV medications don't really need that because allergic reactions are not as common. So it really depends on the doctor's preference, and it also depends on the medication that you're going to get. Once the nurse sets the IV in your arm or your hand and has some normal saline running in it for a bit, they will slowly start to give you the medication that the doctor ordered. So whether that is Simponi or Rencia, Remicade, Rituxan, Benlysta, Cytoxan, it'll go in slowly. In my experience, the nurse tells you everything that they're doing. And that's kind of what I'm used to. That's what I had to do when I worked in a hospital as well. These infusions can take anywhere between as short as 30 minutes, like Simponi, or as much as 8 hours, like Cytoxan. It really depends on the medication. When you do end up getting done, a lot of times they will also flush normal saline in there to make sure you get all the medication, as expensive as it is. And then sometimes, especially the first time, they will have you stay there for about 10-15 minutes just to make sure you don't have any sort of reaction. You will also probably have your vital signs taken again just to make sure that getting this infusion didn't overload you fluid-wise, because if you have to watch your fluid intake and you're overloaded, it can increase your blood pressure or your heart rate. So a lot of times they like to just make sure that before you had the infusion and after you had the infusion, those vital signs stayed pretty darn close to the same. if there was any sort of reaction or you had any symptoms, you have nurses and technicians there to monitor you. And if they need to go and do some stuff real quick, they can go and do some stuff real quick. Most of these medications are given anywhere between every 6 to 8 weeks on average, depending on the medication. And that's not including the loading dose where you initially have to come in more frequently for the first 2 or 3 doses. With that, once you are sent home, you just kind of go on your merry way. If they do give you any sort of IV Benadryl, they're not going to recommend that you drive yourself home. A lot of times they prefer that you have someone who can come and pick you up and drive you back. A lot of us are not used to having IV Benadryl on a very frequent basis, so it's going to be more potent than the Benadryl you would just take as a pill at home. That is just about it as far as what you can expect for your first infusion. For most of these medications, if you're going to have an allergic reaction, it's most likely going to happen the second, third, or fourth dose. It doesn't typically happen the first dose. Not sure why, but that's how they work. That about wraps up infusions. I hope you guys found this video helpful. And with that said, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.